Good afternoon, and thanks for continuing to join us. We're halfway through our European day number 1 of the SPL, and we're going to get spicy. It's Hunger for More versus Cringe Crew.
Yeah, this is the battle of kind of the middle cards. Hunger for More kind of going through their story last split was they were this new team. You know, Titan had disbanded. It's Ataraxia and PrettyPriMe. They got a couple members on their squad. Variety. They got Frezzy, now known as PANDALIKE, and CaptainTwig. It's a ton of LAN experience. They come to DreamHack though, and it's a little bit of a disappointment. They made such a phenomenal run. I think it was 14-3 at the end of that spring split, and then just everything crashed and burned at LAN. But this is a team that we had expected to not even be at DreamHack, and they still managed to do so. And it was during kind of, I don't want to say the less important part of the year,
Sure.
but this is the split that leads to SWC. So this is kind of more critical.
Exactly. A lot of the guys at Hunger for More had experience at LAN sort of outside this team, and I think that there is a very big difference between just going to LAN and going to LAN as a team, right? So we see what happens with the guys at Hunger for More. A couple of people overperformed, some people unfortunately underperformed, but it's all about learning. EmilZy Stealth, I think, had a fantastic quote yesterday after he lost. He said, "You're either winning or you're learning." And I think Hungry for More, knowing the way those guys work, specifically at Ataraxia, took a lot of notes, both literally and figuratively, and we'll be bringing that into our split here. Cringe Crew also making a couple of adjustments. They just barely missed the LAN, and I feel like they had a lot of potential last year.
See, just barely missed, I think, is the tagline of this team, right? Going all the way back to Season 2, when they were London Conspiracy. Spring split, they were 1 place off of qualifying for the spring finals. Summer split, 1 place off of qualifying for the summer finals. 4th place both those times, and then you go into Super Regionals last year. They get to come because it's 6 teams, and guess where they finish? 4th. They're just like this middle-of-the-road team that they need something, right? They're very good against the weak teams, and maybe they drop a game here or there, but they're never consistent against the top teams. Maybe they'll steal a game, right? Maybe they go off with Deathians and have that one game versus Panthera, but they can't string together enough wins to be considered a top contender. Maybe that changes with the addition of Zyrhoes.
Exactly, and that's really where I was getting. They've made one real change, and I think a lot of the problems that some of the lower-end teams make is being very hasty with the changes, right? Roster. And one of the things that allows Cringe Crew to stay just barely almost there is by sticking to their guns. Finally making a change when it needs to be done. Bringing in Zyrhoes. This isn't any other character. It's his first time in the solo lane, but Zyrhoes is certainly an accomplished player
Here's
himself.
the thing, though, right? I always talk about players who role swap, and no one has ever been immediately successful. The closest person to being immediately successful is Zyrhoes. When he made the transition from jungle to mid, however, it was a little bit different because he actually was a mage player. He brought the Vulcan, he brought the Giannis into the jungle back on SK, and I think it translated pretty well. And it took him only a single split to then be considered one of the best mids in the world.
I mean, you say that, we just saw SunTouch destroy the opposition right after a roll swap.
He used to jungle with Freya, to be fair.
That's
it was really good, though.
And what I'm getting at is SunTouch, he's played about 4 out of 5 of the roles competitively. Zyrhoes, this is his 3rd, so maybe 3rd time's a charm. We're about to see HFM versus Cringe Crew. Hungry for More will have the first pick and the first ban.
So Cringe Crew is a team that I think also are going to be able to open up thanks to this split. I've talked a lot about Golden Bow bringing Chronosoul and Freya back into the dual lane. We've already seen the Freya be very dominant, not only on Met Yankee, but also onto SunTouch. And this is the same thing. Shaggyshenk, I think, is the best magical hunter in the game. I really do believe that.
Wow, that's a big
Specifically his Chronos, because even when Golden Bow was a thing, he was still battling it out with that Chronos and actually able to hold his own. His Chronos specifically, it is absolutely insane. If he's left untouched for 20 minutes and he can come to team fights, it is very hard to beat him.
I'll
very
agree.
hard.
I definitely agree with that. I think he's definitely in the conversation. Hungry for More, not too concerned. You can see Ares and Al Kwang being banned out. So if they're not going to first pick the Chronos, so you reckon Cringe Crew answers with the first pick?
I don't think Chronos will be first picked here. It could be first phase of the draft. I more than likely will peg it as the 2nd. Actually, no, probably first now that I think about it a little bit more. And that's just because they do have that flex option. Kero can play the Chronos in the mid as well if they need to here. The thing is that Cringe Crew have actually elicited an Ares ban out of HFM. A little bit worried about EmilZy there. He is one of the premier Ares players in the European SPL.
For me, I think it's less about EmilZy specifically and just more about a play style. Ares brings, I mean, we saw Collis do it earlier in the day, and we've seen a number of people, we saw it Polar Bear Mike tried to do, and you saw glimpses of it there, where just a lot of aggression coming out of Ares.
You have to.
Where we always say that Thor really sets the pace of a game. Ares can do the same if given the opportunity, if he doesn't fall behind. And so avoiding that type of play style.
So this is a little bit interesting. Obviously, Susano first pick, that's all good and dandy to Repikas. Erlang, Shen, Bacchus makes sense as well. But this Ymir Vulcan is what I'm really wondering about, specifically because Cringe Crew really haven't drafted anything that's going to be countered by that Ymir wall specifically yet. Obviously, Erlang Shen doesn't have a leap, but this is very similar to drafting an Odin early on, where you want these options where this wall is going to be useful against all opponents multiple times. Now Cringe Crew are going to be able to start to adapt their playstyle. Already the Raijin has Thunder Crash, can get over that wall.
Exactly. So showing a little bit of the hand, and we've already seen 2 solo Ymirs already today. So there is, I think that Hunger for More now have earned the ambiguity. This is not Hunger for More, but Europe in general. This is an ambiguous pick at this point. It's not guaranteed to be support like it used to be.
Yeah, and I think it was last season we actually saw, for the summer split, I think beginning of fall, a lot of teams draft into those flex options. We saw a lot of Chronos, a lot of Neath, a lot of picks like Ymir that could flex into, jungle or solo or support role. Now it's less so, but that option is still there for teams.
Yeah, and it's still very important. I mean, we still see the Neath pick first pick overall, just because the ambiguity is so important. Keeping your opponent, all right, sweet, they have a Neath, that means a lot of clear in the long lane, I'll go with something to match it. Oh wait, they tricked me. Tricking your opponent in picks and bans is just as important as it is to trick them in the game.
So Ataraxia said something to me, right? He's like, if Cringe Crew ban Jing Wei, we will lose. If they leave Jing Wei open, we will win. However, Jing Wei is not in the hands of Ataraxia. And Ataraxia is a very good Jing Wei player. It's a character that he's really grown to love. We saw him perform with it on DreamHack as well. Very dominant with the god. And now it's going to be the hands of Shaggyshenk. This is a character that provides a lot of, fighting potential with built-in crit on those explosive bolts, but also a lot of farming potential just with the passive, able to fly out of base to your towers.
And really what I'm looking at when it comes to the Jing Wei on Shaggyshenk is the ability to carry the game from those interesting spots. You mentioned a lot about the Chronos and him being a fantastic magical hunter player. When it comes to playing Chronos and Freya, Chronos a little bit more specifically, there's a lot of creativity in the gameplay there. Whether you're throwing out the stun or after the abilities, basic attacks, etc. Jing Wei has a lot of that creativity as well, using your ultimate to find a flank, etc. So I think Jing Wei brings some of that and should be interesting to see in the hands of Shaggy for sure.
If you took these team nameplates away, I would say Cringe Crew is actually hungry for more.
Oh yeah.
The tier pickup, which means Erlang Shen going into the jungle, Variety very known for his tier, and it is going to be a Ymir support. Variety on this Odin. Now, here's the thing. Zyrhoes has picked tier into Variety, and that's Variety's god. Tier is actually just Variety's god, so Variety's going to know how to play this matchup perfectly, which is sometimes a worry when you bring characters like Odin and Tier who, while played, aren't played consistently. You always have to factor in the, does this guy really know how to play this matchup perfectly?
And Zyrhoes, I mean, I want to say it's a statement pick. Tier is just a good character overall. But Zyrhoes is this guy that does want to make a statement. He's never a quiet person, and at least in his gameplay. And we see him now in his 3rd professional role. Originally jungle, or originally mid, moved to the jungle, and now over here in the solo lane. He wants to tell everybody, hey, I know I'm new to this role, but don't treat me like it. I'm going to do just fine. I'll pick Tier against Variety. I don't care.
And it's going to be a pretty exciting matchup here. You have to be a little bit careful with the Odin jump. Obviously, if you bird bomb, you run the risk of getting, pulled into tower with that Fearless, or not pulled, but pushed into the tower with the Fearless. And this is going to be a very precarious lane for both. Odin has an advantage, I think, in the first couple levels, but once Tier gets that stand switch online, once he can start healing up the Odin poke, Variety's going to have to play very careful. He needs to not get poked out.
It's going to be all about playing that one careful. Mid lane, however, I mean, these are characters that should be played careful, but we all know how Raijin likes to just blink into problems, and Vulcan will do the same. And this is PrettyPrime's Vulcan. He once upon a time, he was the only Vulcan
Yes.
player. Now that it's meta, it's even more scary to see him on the character.
Well, also more people are getting play of it, so you know, now that he has that movement speed, I mean, it was a direct buff to PrettyPriMe, basically.
Exactly.
Just like any tier buff is going to be a direct buff to Variety, because they're so known for these characters that are a little bit off meta. They can be played, but before they weren't played often.
Yeah, now Tyr and Vulcan definitely a part of the meta table, able to really just dance with the best of them. And the game has been changed, the gods have been changed, and that's why we sort of see that direction go. But all in all, right now, Zero's going to get jumped on, but I don't think he really cares. He has that heal available to him already, as he's level 3.
Zero's going to be fine in this lane now. Now that he has stance switch, he can heal up any poke. Even if he takes a bird bomb to the face, he's not at risk of dying. And I love what he's doing right here, completely canceling the bird bomb, putting so much pressure onto Variety. Variety's going to have to tear through his potions early on. Not something you want to do only a minute into the lane.
Very important. By taking the damage from the Raven shield, sure, Zeroes gets chunked out a little bit, but he can heal it up like we said. More importantly, the wave doesn't take damage, and that's what the push was for.
And Zero's just going to have to keep doing this. I mean, there's not going to be any pressure onto him. Looking over on the other side, though, in the dual lane, this Ymir, we've actually seen PandaLike rotate into the jungle quite often, and I love what he's doing, just the mind games. You'll see him kind of teeter off just to the side there, right next to the Gold Fury, and this causes Cringe Crew to have to call that he's missing. You can just see him do it again, just kind of sitting in the jungle there next to the Gold, if we can highlight him. As actually a gank coming over here on the right-hand side.
CaptainTwig going to get the knock-up. Zeroes should be fine until the dash comes through, and that'll be first blood for Hungry for More. Nice early gank. 2 minutes and 20 seconds. CaptainTwig makes that rotation.
And that's just a really surprising gank for a lot of solo laners. They don't see too much action until their blue buff spawns, and that's normally when you see those invades happen, because the timing is, okay, not only do we set up for this kill, but even if we don't get the kill, we get the buff. This way, Zyrhoes is a little bit less prepared for the gank, and he can't combat it.
As soon as CaptainTwig hits 5, he makes the rotation. And like you said, I think a veteran solo lane probably picks up on that timing.
Maybe not. I mean, there's no wards on the map. You know, the level ones have already fallen off. No one's been back to base yet, so there is no vision. And it's onto your team to call where people are. And sometimes if you're doing your own buffs, right, doing your own back harpies, which is what I'm assuming was happening with Cringe Crew at the time, or HFM at the time, you just get lost. You know, you just lose track of where the jungler goes, especially Susano, who's very mobile. Right.
Like you said, the biggest thing is the lack of vision right now. Just not there yet. The early wards weren't available for the situation over on the right side. So CaptainTwig starting things off
left-hand side. Trouble for PandaLike. Knocked up here, and he's going to get chased down. He's very low, and it's only going to be a matter of time. Shaggyshenk answers back for Cringe Crew very shortly after.
EmilZy secures that with his body. There's no abilities that secure that. It was the body blocks. I love to see those plays, Kevin.
Variety actually here getting pressured out of his lane, and Repikas looked like he was trying to set up for a gank, but after Zyrhoes pushed him more towards his own tower, it was not worth the time. Soaks up some waves, gets ready for mid-harpies. And Erlang Shen is very scary, especially when you look at the core that Cringe Crew have drafted. Erlang Shen, Bacchus, and Raijin, right? There's the double initiation. EmilZy bounce into Intoxicate, Raijin into Thunder Crash, and then Repikas, if he pins someone, they're rooted and crippled. They can't fight unless they purify.
Yeah, there's just nowhere to go. So, the Erlang Shen, this is the second time we've seen him in the jungle. He brings something different, honestly. I like the fact that he's both successful in the solo and the jungle, and the gameplay is very different where you put him.
I mean, Repikas is going to have more telegraphed ganks, I would say, is probably the best way to put it, where he's going to walk in the lane, throw a pin, and it's like, he's not going to 100-0 you.
No.
You're going to know if you're going to die, but it's just going to take him, 6-7 seconds to do so, unless he has the Raijin and Bacchus.
Yeah, the Erlang Shen, very talented when it comes to chasing players down. Maybe not so much as Mr. Susano himself, but certainly has that in his skill set. But the problem is he doesn't have much movement, and he gets kind of trapped, but CaptainTwig values his own safety over damaging the Repikas.
I would say Erlang Shen is a little bit better than Susano, not necessarily mobility-wise. I mean, obviously the assassin, multiple movement when it escapes, but just the pin is such a low cooldown, 12 seconds, and so that continuous lockdown, as well as having 72 transformations to catch up to people, is what makes him, a capable jungler.
The 72 transformations is interesting, though, because it's not quite a dash or a leap. You move a little bit faster in the Mink form, but you're still very susceptible to Ymir and things like that, just hard freezes. So I have to watch out for that. Duo lane, gotta watch out for EmilZy. He's gonna find the burp, gets stunned through it. He'll take some poke.
I don't think EmilZy was really ready to commit onto that, but they would have at least set up for a significant amount of poke if PandaLike doesn't find the freeze in that situation. And you actually have a big rotation from CC. It almost looks like they either want to set up for gold or try and bait someone to rotate in. I almost think they were trying to get Susano to make that rotation to the left-hand side to relieve pressure.
That's really what it was, because you don't see the lead with the burp unless they're trying to bait something out. I think you see, if EmilZy's trying to make that play, I think you see the belly flop intoxicate, the standard Bacchus initiation. Instead, you see something a little bit jank, baiting out the freeze from PandaLike. So if there is the rotation, Cringe Crew has more tools than HFM, but Hungry for More, don't take the bait, and CaptainTwig stays put.
And that's something PandaLike's going to have to be very aware of. As a Ymir, very similar to an Ares, you have a couple more options, but if you get behind, you can just be repeatedly ganked, repeatedly picked off. You don't have those escape options.
Zyrhoes going to get repeatedly ganked, looking for the repeated pick, but a strong Fearless puts him safe and damages CaptainTwig. Well, that was a great play by Zyrhoes.
I mean, I just really like what CaptainTwig's doing here. Right? It's not even necessarily about getting a kill. He got the early one. That's all that mattered, because Odin gets destroyed in this lane, and we've seen Zyrhoes even down a kill is even in gold right now with variety, even after getting first blooded. And CaptainTwig's just gonna keep putting pressure here, just make sure variety's okay.
And it's not even about the fact that he's a rookie. PandaLike certainly isn't, and everybody's paying attention to him. Kero gets the kill onto Panda. I mean, there was 5 members of Cringe Crew just surrounding him.
PrettyPriMe around the corner finds the knockup, but Twig chased down. Repikas has taken out Twig now, and Variety's trying to answer back. The ultimate is good from Shaggyshenk. Ataraxia is actually going to hold his ult, and Shaggy completely outplays him, comes back in, but waiting for him is the Vulcan.
And there's the dash forward from Jing. Shaggy's safe on the right-hand side. Jumping forward is Variety. He's in trouble. And there's the dash of Repikas, looking for Prime. Finds the root, but it's purified out. Here comes Tier, finally! Zyrhoes makes the rotation. Can't find the Fearless, but does anyway with the power cleave. Kill goes to Zyrhoes.
Just well played by Cringe Crew overall. First, they take out PandaLike at the start of that fight. They bait him into a bad corner. That's one of the weaknesses of Ymir, and it was just kind of this pile-in of damage. All of Cringe Crew were there. PandaLike didn't have the vision on the map. Not enough warding coming out from HFM right now. And then after that, it was kind of just, one at a time. Ants come marching in, and just one person got picked off, then the next, and then finally Prime falls.
The late rotation from Zyrhoes actually pays off there. A lot of times, late rotation, I mean, that just sounds like a negative. But Variety came into town first, and like you said, sort of just walked in like a lamb to the slaughter. Zyrhoes shows up a little bit later. Cleanup time. Here I come. I've seen solo laners do this before. And then he just comes through and powerhouses it down. So the late rotation actually worked in Zyrhoes' favor.
And Tier's honestly better after a fight has broken out.
For sure.
Once the purification are down, he just has such strong lockdown with the Fearless power cleave combo, as well as the ability to chase with his ultimate. And, I mean, if you don't have purification, Tier hurts. His base abilities are very damaging. He doesn't need those power items. He doesn't need a Transcendence. Sure, he'll do a little bit more damage with them, but I mean, 240 base on the one, and it hits twice.
Exactly. I mean, it's a ton of damage, and Zyrhoes certainly going to do it. And again, the aggression from CaptainTwig onto Zyrhoes. Look at that. Gets the ultimate after leaving. Susano ran away into the jungle and still chased the ultimate out of Tier. This is
all Twig's trying to do. You notice the second he set up for that gank, he just rotated out. He maybe takes a wave of varieties at a time, but it's just to make sure that Zyrhoes can't pressure Variety, because they do not want that Odin to fall behind in lane. At this point, Odin's probably fine by himself though, and it'll be much harder to gank this Tier.
And it's like you said, it's just about making Zyrhoes uncomfortable. I think that we still see this gameplay if it's any particular solo laner, but the fact that it's somebody new to the role, I think certainly means that HFM is going to pay a little bit more attention to it, and rightfully so.
PandaLike here. 0-2 and 0, been picked off twice right now. Not going the best for him. He has meditation. He's actually gone into the shoes of the Magi, so going more for an aggressive Ymir build. A little bit surprised at that. Obviously, I mean, Ymir kind of has just so much damage at base. It's good to have the extra damage, and it is going to help with this Gold Fury.
Yeah, it's going to be started off. I love the use of the turret there by PandaLike. He goes, well, I don't have a teammate, but I've got a turret. That's enough to start things up, and he throws out the carpet, but quickly, Cringe Crew respond, and they show up, and everybody walks away.
Meditation's picked up for both teams, and EmilZy actually here once again. PANDALIKE gonna be knocked up, and this is trouble. Great wall, but he's run straight into the airstrike. And Shaggyshenk's already taken him out, and I mean, I don't know what's going on with these wards or the calls for Hungry for More right now, but they are atrociously bad.
I mean, that's the second time that EmilZy gets behind the enemy dual lane, maybe even the third. Obviously, this one's going to be the first time it results in a kill. Zyrhoes gets the purification out of PrettyPriMe. That's a big deal. CaptainTwig chased out on the right-hand side. Cringe Crew giving a little bit of a chase. Turns around. Raxi is here, but he could be collapsed on.
No.
Sandwiched, but purified out. Zyrhoes can't get the ultimate or the shot, but he gets the kill anyway.
And now Variety's going to jump in, but the issue is the rest of his team is down. He's trying to at least trade out 1-for-1 here. Kero's going to make his way out, but he might run straight back into Variety. The blink is good. The slow is better, and Variety finally answers back into this fight. A risky move, but it still pays off.
That was excellently done by Variety. Now he's going to get jumping and get a kill himself. CaptainTwig come out of nowhere and combine for a double kill. Hungry for more with the surprising plays.
And actually, Zero's in trouble too. Can't get the heal off, but no one's going to be able to chase him down. And now HFM, I mean, that fight was very bad for them. That was really bad for them, but Variety just comes out on top there, chases down Kero, and he really just buys enough time for CaptainTwig to respawn, come from base. He's got his ultimate online. He had the blink online, and because Cringe Crew had taken so much poke at the start of the engagement, that just the burst damage from him and Variety were enough to clean up 2 more kills and open up the Gold Fury.
And they do it with style. The Blink Raven Shield explosion is one of my favorite things to watch. It just, you don't really expect it. All of a sudden, pow, it takes timing and intelligence. Very fun. And then CaptainTwig following. That's what Hungry for More were missing at DreamHack. That trust and that immediate follow-up. Right there, we saw it. Fall split, certainly a different story.
I almost think Cringe Crew could have won that fight if, instead of them all trying to run away from Variety, if they all just piled in on him. But once again, that still comes back to CaptainTwig able to rotate in with his blink, with his ultimate. And CaptainTwig has been all over this map so far, just finishing off his Void Shield right now, 2-1-1. We've seen him in every single lane at this point. He's made a really strong impact for HFM.
And it started in the solo lane, but like you said, he's rotated pretty much everywhere. Started in the solo lane, he belongs in the mid lane, and he's made that rotation over to duo a couple of times, specifically for the objective. Shaggyshenk and Ataraxia going head-to-head here.
And this is, yeah, I mean, Ataraxia is not too convinced of fighting on this one. Shaggyshenk's going to win this with not only the wave advantage, but also the attack speed from his own wing gust, etc., etc. He's probably just going to want to farm up and get his items online. Start stacking up his divos a little bit higher.
Yeah, that dash didn't surprise Ataraxia, as he's our premier Jing Wei player, but Shaggyshenk got a couple of pot shots off of it, so Ataraxia maybe caught napping.
I mean, this is also a difference in build that Shaggyshenk's taking advantage of. He went straight into the Devourer's Gauntlets, then into the Boots. He's actually already finished his Executioner, where Ataraxia went for the Boots first for that immediate power spike, just not able to make it pay off.
Vulcan here waiting. Repikas and Kero around the corner. So PrettyPriMe, I like this play. If CaptainTwig can get the grab, PrettyPrime's going to toss something over the little rock, but no grab is made, so just a retreat, heading back to the mid lane. Over a ward too. Cringe Crew again. You mentioned it before. Just a lot of vision on the side of the on the right side of the map, but not a lot on the left side. And there's an engagement. Jumping in should be an escape, and it will be.
Twig's gonna survive, but I mean, you could just see the strength of Pin there. Shaggyshenk rotates, just trying to catch off Twig. A little bit off guard there in the left-hand side jungle, but doesn't go his way. But the Pin just sets up for so many options for your team there. Just the lockdown, the root cripple. It's just the strongest thing in the game.
4 players from Cringe Crew here in the mid lane, only 2 on the tower, but keep your eye on PANDALIKE on the right-hand side. If he wants to get aggressive, he certainly will be. Hungry for more, just shove players off of the tower. Cringe Crew's still here. Will shade onto the left side jungle, but there's really nothing to gain.
And they're not in a position to, Cringe Crew want to keep fighting. They feel like they have the advantage right now, and I tend to agree with just their core being very bursty, as well as having the better rotational power from Shaggyshenk. If he comes off of base into the mid lane, Zyrhoes as well, while he has blink, it's really about the setup potential more than anything. And I don't think Cringe Crew have to worry too much about getting locked inside Odin Ring. They have a lot of options to get out. It's really Repikas who's going to struggle inside of it.
Variety very low. Zyrhoes thinking about making the play. You can see him try to be sneaky.
He doesn't have vision right now, so it's a little bit risky if he does so. But if Kero's calling out that there's 3 mid, he can try and look for this. And it's just going to let Variety back for now.
Yeah, he couldn't find the entrance, so instead, we'll stay in lane. You know, Variety might even lose his tower here if Zyrhoes hard commits, but it looks like the rotation going to be in mind anyway, and Zyrhoes will head back to base. So 15 on the clock. We've had a very calculated game. I don't want to say slow because you've seen the rotations that have CaptainTwig over to solo time and time again. It's just been our teams, with the exception of, I think, the kill on the left side in the dual lane, EmilZy jumping on PandaLike. Our kills in our team fights have been spread out and highly prepared. There hasn't been any surprise ganks.
I mean, so CaptainTwig's goal this game was to get to the mid and late game scenarios, and that was his job. So what he did was he put a lot of pressure onto the right side of the map, trying to make sure Variety could get out of the rough early game matchup of Tyr versus Odin. He did that successfully. A very early first blood gank. I believe it was 2.5, maybe 3 minutes in, surprised Zyrhoes, and now Variety's been fine. We've seen a couple other rotations just to relieve pressure. On the other side, Cringe Crew, they've been looking to get things started off early, right? They have a lot of burst in their core, and the goal was, let's kill PandaLike. And they did so 3 times. But the issue is that they stayed a little bit too long on one of those when they were trying to look for the Gold Fury, and they just allowed Variety and CaptainTwig to rotate back in and kind of just outplay them, and they got gold off of that.
Everything prepared from Hungry for More has seemed very strong, but whenever they need to improv and sort of come off the cuff because of a happenstance gank or because they drop the ball a little bit, that's where we've seen them sort of come up short. And I think that's troublesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's troublesome here, but they're still in a really good position. They're down in kills. However, they've got an ever so slightly gold lead, about 400, and it's really just getting into this situation where they can make the Vulcan and Odin ultimates work in unison.
That's been their plan, I think, from minute one, especially when paired up with the Ymir. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's the double walls. It's the cage and the walls as well. There's a lot of just annoyances where if PandaLike uses his wall to block you off in the jungle and you have to jump, well, then what's going to happen after that? It's going to be Blink Odin ult straight into Vulcan ult, and then, you know, Typhoon's probably in there too, right? CaptainTwig trying to get his damage off, you know, rise to the top of the charts, and it's very hard to escape that. It's going to make it easier for Ataraxia as well, just limited use case to juke around it.
Hungry for More starting the Gold Fury, but mark my words here, it's more about the fight. Yep.
Actually, it looks more like they were trying to sneak in. Instead, they're going to try and force Zyrhoes' ult, and he just goes straight towards his team. The Typhoon's going to do some damage, but not enough follow-up.
And Kero goes up in the ultimate, so does Ram, looking for his shots. One shot, and the follow-up won't be found, so teammates will have to do it. But Ataraxia on the backside, PandaLike on the front side, CaptainTwig on the good side, gets a kill, but gets put down for it. Variety being chased by 3, while Ataraxia and friends surround with 3.
And Repikas now trying to fight. PandaLike's retreated, and it looks like a full disengage from HFM. They've already found 2 kills. They've only lost 1, and Variety still diving deep into the tower. This kid has not stopped. That's 3 kills that he's just chased opponents down away from the primary engagement.
I love the play of Variety playing Erlang Shen against Erlang Shen, just running and hitting him with the basics over and over again. Gets the kill on the Repi, which is an important one, opening essentially this Gold Fury. Variety's going to do what he can to zone, and it'll be successful. So the first real objective of the game, 7s all around, but Cringe Crew find themselves trailing by 3,000
the main problem in that fight is that Kero hard committed. I believe it was onto Zyrhoes. No, it was onto PandaLike, excuse me, onto PandaLike at the start of that fight, and then he went up into his ultimate, but because he's so slow, he got nailed from PrettyPriMe at max range, and then he was inside the Odin ring just running around, and this seems to be the issue that he's had all game, is that Variety is putting so much pressure on him, he doesn't feel comfortable to get his damage off in fights.
And it's not just Variety. In these team fights, Hungry for More as a team know that Kero's going to be one of the targets. The ultimate was forced out by the CaptainTwig ult. CaptainTwig throws the tornado and sends everybody into a tizzy, whether they get knocked up or forced to use the ultimate. Kero gets into trouble, and Hungry for More have made their statement. They want to focus Zyrhoes in the laning phase, and now that it's over and we're seeing more team fights, Kero is for sure Hungry for More's target.
I mean, it's a Raijin, right? You can never let any burst mage just be left untouched, and that's Variety's job this game at the very least. And he's done a phenomenal job of that too, right? That's 2 kills now that he's chased down Kero in the backlines, fighting 1v3, right? Where it's just like, it's just him, and he's just able to outplay the team, and then right there at the end, also chasing down that final kill onto Repikas. 7-7 right now. HFM in a really good spot with their second Gold Fury too.
And you know, it's really good that we're seeing success out of Variety specifically. During the DreamHack where Hunger for More kind of dropped the ball, I think a lot of eyes were on Variety. He had an amazing spring split and then just really couldn't make it happen during the interim. Here, day number 1, this is the performance you want out of a guy that, you know, had a little troubles. He's going to combine here with Twig. If there's any way Zyrhoes gets out, PrettyPrime's here just in case, and Zyrhoes one more time falls. This is the 5th time that we've seen Hunger for More on that right side.
Ooh, Repikas in trouble too, gonna get walled off straight into the Vulcan ult. The turtle is activated, but Backfire confirms it. It was the slowest turtle I've actually seen. A little bit more accurate to the truth of the animal on that one.
And just the tail end high accuracy shot from the Backfire. Twiggy chases down Kero under his own tower, and Cringe Crew gonna respond by aggression in the left lane. Well played as a team, and they're gonna pick up that tier 1 tower. If they pick up Ataraxia, it's trouble.
They're not even trying to kill him right here. The important thing is they want to force him off of this tower, and Ataraxia actually focusing on the wave. He wants to try and keep this tower alive. He is going to fall eventually. EmilZy gets the kill, but without those minions, it's going to be much harder to take the tier 2. And in the meantime, HFM, no, they've already killed the 3 other players. There's 2 on the left side of the map. Uncontested FG.
Well, so
and the tier 2 stays up.
So Cringe Crew answer Hunger for More's team play with great team play by forcing the left tower, and then Hunger for More answer the great team play of Cringe Crew with better team play of their own by forcing the Fire Giant. It's unit versus unit. This is great smite, Kevin.
I mean, really, it's Cringe Crew are kind of collapsing more than anything because Zyrhoes got picked off again. Left-hand side though, CaptainTwig with FG, just trying to force something. I think the team's gonna reset and farm up for now, but you saw, you know, Cringe Crew get in trouble on that right-hand side. Zyrhoes falls, Repikas rotates in, but Zyrhoes is already dead. He gets walled off, and then he gets finished by the rest of the team, and then finally, I believe it was Kero walks in too and dies. It was just one at a time, and that was just, that wasn't, you know, Hunger for More playing well as a team. That was Cringe Crew just making a lot of individual mistakes. And then I love what they do on the left-hand side, right? They can't make an impact on the right, so they push the tower. They try and put pressure on Ataraxia. They're not even looking to kill him. They really are. They just want to, no, they just want to do damage, force him off the tower, and get the tier 2. I love what Ataraxia did. It was actually more efficient for Ataraxia to die there and clear the wave, so his tier 2 kept safe.
Exactly. He's not going to be able to take that fight. We saw they fought him once, and he was pushed down to 10% HP. He's not going to live a second time, so he tries to find the exit by way of killing the minions, and then, like you said, just, I'm dead anyway, let's figure out how to make this happen. And because of that, tier 2 tower still stands.
Fire Giant in hand. Hunger for More going to be able to start knocking down doors right now. Also, about 5K, which isn't the largest margin, but you're going to have some power spike items, and that's what's really important. Variety just got a lot tankier, finished off his Urchin. You can see tier 2 of Titan's Bane, which is actually very good. It's very similar to Obsidian Shard, where it still gives you 22% of the 33% penetration. So it's very good for that to be an item. Power Spike as well.
Right, and about killing, just about killing the towers here.
Shard, Rage, everything.
And jumping forward, EmilZy gets chased out. Kind of didn't expect that one, but Hunger for More now. With that Bacchus sleep on cooldown, might be able to make this push. And that's what they'll do. Ataraxia head first into the tower.
Watch Zyrhoes, though.
He's coming through from behind. That's Tier's favorite spot. Raxia knows. That means the rest of the team is aware. And that's why we see the back off.
I mean, this is fine. Zyrhoes isn't really trying to commit. He obviously knows. They know he's there. He's just, like, trying to make them... He's just trying to distract them more than anything. Thunder Crash down on Kero, though, and Variety knows that. He might be trying to stay out of combat so he can blink on this. Not yet, though.
There's the wave. That's take 2. Jumping in his Variety. Puts the cage down. Not to cage people in, to keep people out. They're looking for the aggression, but that's why Zyrhoes is behind. EmilZy half HP. Over the top comes Vulcan. Still alive is EmilZy, but Repikas certainly not. Ataraxia takes him down. Zyrhoes narrowly avoids the knockup, but the jump from Variety paying dividends. Raxia picks up another one. That's 3 for the Welshman, and number 12 on the board for Hunger for More. They take the tier 2 tower, and they're going to push forward for the Phoenix.
HFM are getting so much value out of their big teamfight ultimates, right? Not so much the Odin cage, but the Typhoon from, CaptainTwig and then PrettyPriMe with that Vulcan ultimate. They're just hitting so many players that you typically won't see in fights, and you can see the poke damage they're taking. Ataraxia is able to just line up his shots. He's got crit online with Rage and clean up the kills.
They got the Phoenix. Just like that. Just that quickly. Just they showed up, and this is Hungry for More's calling card. So disciplined. They could have hung out and tried to get some kills. No, Variety's job is to jump into places and push people away. Hungry for More, well, Ataraxia is going to kill the tower. It goes down. Everybody turns and walks away. They killed the tower and were in the jungle in 4.5 seconds.
Still got Fire Giant here for 2 more seconds, just falling off right now, but a Gold Fury is ready and waiting. Let's take a look at Golden Hand for this one. I want to see what's going to happen after this. I would imagine we've got a couple players above 2,000. Actually, the entire team's above 2,000, almost 3,000 for PrettyPriMe. I was talking about how they were able to get those power spike off that 6K lead. Well, guess what? Now it's 12K.
Yeah, I mean, that's very scary, and you can see how sharply the game has really shot up. 5K and a Fire Giant is, we are ready to make our third, second to last push, maybe. Now in this situation,
yes,
Hungry for More looking to win that.
He did it.
What are you excited about?
Poison Star, man. Ataraxia bought Poison Star. I love you. Thank you, Nate. So Poison Star here. I actually asked a lot of players in the community recently, what they thought about it. And the, short form is it's not DPS efficient, right? If you just want to see big damage numbers, this is not your item. Going Rage, or excuse me, going, Malice or Deathbringer are going to be better. But this is really about the utility. Ataraxia already has enough damage right now. He's already doing enough damage. This is going to provide him with just a little bit extra crit on top of the Rage, as well as when he does crit, he's going to reduce the damage that Cringe Crew is doing. Since they're already 12,000 gold behind, they're doing less damage, and that's going to come into effect even doubly so when they're doing 22 or 20% less and 20% slower.
And it works wonderfully on a hunter because the target that you want to kill is usually a high DPS target. So you're looking at Shaggy the hunter, which will work out in boxing matches. You're looking at Repikas the jungler. I mean, hell, you're looking at Kero the mid laner, and those are all targets that you want to hit with that debuff. So Ataraxia is certainly going to make use of it. We'll see how it works out. Variety jumping forward in the mid, and Hungry for More bringing up the rear.
I mean, just in the opponents they're against, right? If Zyrhoes is, ignore the damage reduction, just think about the slow, right? Zyrhoes and Repikas, they're frontline warriors. They want to get up close to you to use their abilities. If they're so slow that you're able to actually outpace them, their damage is completely nullified.
That's a true one. I didn't even think about that with respects to tier. Fire Giant immediately taken down. Very quick. So much damage on the guys who are hungry for more.
Oh, 3-man.
There's the cage. One player stuck in. He'll finally find a way out.
Kero has no escape. He's already used it, and Twig knows straight in. He's already taken him out. EmilZy's lined up perfectly. Frozen. The crits are raining through. He's 20% slower, doing 20% less damage, and he's dead.
Turning around for the tower is going to be Hungry for More. This could be the final push, folks. Kero and EmilZy, 40 seconds time out. Cringe Crew, they've got 3 players to play defense. Left Phoenix already down. Right Phoenix about to be already down. Cringe Crew now have to defend this middle Phoenix. It's not going to happen. Does HFM make the final push?
I mean, it's going to be pretty easy here. Variety's got CDR, which means his cage is going to be up in probably another 15 seconds, and the Titan already shredded. Attention on to Zyrhoes. His ult is going to be burned, and it's only 3 players left to defend this. Ymir charges his ult, and HFM going to get off to a pretty good start here in the SPL. First game against Cringe Crew.
And they looked fantastic. Hungry for More did not show a sign of rust whatsoever. Like I said, we know these guys, and Ataraxia maybe even more so. He was here for the Epsilon Invitational, and it's never a guess. It's never a question how much work an Ataraxia team is going to do to improve. And, well, they came out here ready to fight.
I mean, the only weakness we saw from them was PANDALIKE getting picked off a couple times, which is something he's always struggled on.
That's PANDALIKE.
But here's the thing is that once HFM get out of that, very early laning phase and into those mid-game team fights, that's where they really shine. And, I mean, the couple mistakes PANDALIKE made early, completely negated. And to be fair, even though he did make mistakes and get behind, he was still even with EmilZy, right? I was kind of harping on it, but it wasn't like he was dead and, Cringe Crew were getting a lot off of picking him off. They were still coming out on top, even if he died.
And really the recovery is what I really enjoyed. We saw that early gank coming out for the guys on Cringe Crew, and they wound up losing the team fight. And I think that's pretty much what Hungry for More does very well. They're able to sort of abuse your mistakes and come up on top despite being a man down. 4-on-5, take the team fight. That winds up into a Gold Fury, and that was the beginning of their lead.
And just talking about their comp as well, I don't think I was able to touch on it as much, because as we saw it play out, you just saw so many more options, right? It's not even just that Vulcan ultimate into the cage, right? That's the most basic bare bones of it. But also the tier also who likes to heal up, right? That's how he fights, right? He gets low and then he heals up. That's going to be completely negated. 100% healing reduction inside the cage. Also, Vulcan turret can be placed right on the outside, covers the entire area. And then the Typhoon covers the whole area. You're in a small area. Ataraxia with those ROM snipes, going to be a lot easier to predict where people are moving. They don't have many options. So it all kind of centered around getting variety in the team fights, placing the cage down, and that's why we saw Twig put so much attention in the early game to him.
Earlier.